So for more on Chrismukkah, let's bring in our holiday panel. Joining us now is the president of the Union for Reform Judaism, Rabbi Rick Jacobs. And I'd also like to welcome our professor of theology at the University of Birmingham, Candida Moss. Thank you both for joining us. Professor Moss, let's start with you. The dates for Hanukkah change every year. Is it significant that both Christmas and Hanukkah fall on the same day?
Well, the reason that the dates for Hanukkah change every year is because Judaism is following a lunar solar calendar that is following both the passage of the sun and the passage of the moon, whereas Christians are following the Gregorian calendar that just follows the sun. I think that, especially as Hanukkah has become seen as kind of the Jewish Christmas, we are seeing more and more sort of interest in how they might correspond to one another. Both holidays are interested in light and in God's presence in dark times. And of course, this creates a huge opportunity for interfaith families to celebrate both traditions alongside one another.
And it also means for interfaith families double the gifts. Well, Rabbi Jacobs, while Christmas is a religious holiday, Hanukkah isn't a high holiday for people of the Jewish faith. But do you think it's gained a religious significance over the years because of the time of year in which it falls?
There's no doubt that Hanukkah has become more important to the Jewish community in the last decades, and its proximity to Christmas is clearly an influence. And I think, I grew up in Southern California. We were the only Jewish family on our block. We were the only family without Christmas lights. And today, of course, there's much more attention to the many religious traditions that make up America and the world. So I think one of the things that, as the professor pointed out, the interfaith families, first of all, can have a little bit of a challenge. What do they do tomorrow? Is it more Christmas or more Hanukkah, or first Christmas, then Hanukkah? Luckily, we have 8 nights of Hanukkah. You can spread it out. But for some families, it's an opportunity to reflect on these two beautiful, different faith traditions. And I just think it's really important to give each one its due, not to sort of blend them together as in the term Chrismukkah, because I think that does harm to the uniqueness of each. But the proximity can actually lead all of us to understand more, to appreciate more about those who make up different faiths, and for us to create more light in an often very dark time of year. And this year, in particular, I feel like there's darkness everywhere we look.
And jumping off from that point, Rabbi Jacobs, we can't forget that this is the second Hanukkah since the horrific October 7th attacks. How is this holiday season different from your typical holiday?
Well, I think it's different in many ways. Of course, the brutal attacks of October 7th last year, with 1,200 murdered, many raped, and 250 taken hostage. We still have 100 hostages still in Gaza. So I think our Jewish community is going to have its joy tempered. And we tell a story of a band, a small, ill-equipped band called the Maccabees, who fought the greatest military might in the ancient times, which was the Seleucid Greek Empire. And their fight was to live freely and safely in their land. And we think today, obviously, about that ancient fight, and we see a war still raging before us. The rabbis of the Talmud 2,000 years ago, they wanted not to emphasize the militarism. They wanted people to appreciate the spiritual significance of the jar of oil that was found and that lasted for 8 days as the temple was rededicated. I have to think that this year in particular, with the resurgence of anti-Semitism here in North America, we are seeing 1 out of 4 Jews have experienced hate personally and anti-Semitism. So we are trying very much to create more light this holiday. And I think for interfaith families, they can do that. And they can appreciate all those differences. And I think in the wider world, we know that we must find a way to live together. The holiday can actually point out that pluralism, appreciating diversity, is one of the great blessings of life. It's rare maybe in these very polarized times, but this light is even more essential today.
Professor Moss, I wanted to ask, given what's going on right now in the Holy Land, how is this impacting the way that both of these holidays are being celebrated around the world?
I think, as the rabbi was saying, it's a much more somber holiday this year. In Bethlehem, the place where Christians go to celebrate the birth of Jesus, the tree is not there. There isn't a creche. It's a very dark year there. And I think that when you think about the message of Christmas, how it's about peace and hope, and God's love for humanity. That's also a kind of invocation that we need to work towards understanding, dialogue, living together. But this is a gift in Christianity for all of humankind. That means that we also have to work to alleviate the suffering of the many people who are suffering right now.
Rabbi Jacobs, Professor Moss, thank you so much for joining us, and happy holidays to you both.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Let there be light. Let there be light.